Welcome. Most of you have been in our actual lobby in our corporate headquarters in Chandler, Arizona. Well, today everyone can be in our virtual lobby at Wise World Investment Planning. Glad you could make it. And yes, service dogs are welcome. Welcome to the virtual Enola Gay conference room. If you've seen our real conference room here in Chandler, we have some aviation things that will end up going to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. This virtual conference room is not quite as exciting, but we'd like to share it with you anyway. The topic is being prepared, your estate planning portfolio, and making sure your house is in order. We want to do this once and we want to do it right. We're glad you could join us. As we are now in the virtual conference room for the third quarter 2021, we're going to be talking about the past, the present, and the future. In the past, what's been going on that's impacted us? What should we learn? Lessons learned, that type of thing. In the present, we're going to do a 360 look around where we currently find ourselves, and we hope to do some forecast about 2022 and beyond. Most pictures are worth 1,000 words. I think this one might be worth 10,000 plus. You see two gentlemen in Alaska, in a stream, trying to get breakfast or lunch, I'm not sure. You also see that they're in someone's parking spot. There's a bear, and he's wondering if you're going to help him get his breakfast or lunch for the day. Doesn't that remind us of what we've been through with the global pandemic we've experienced? Today, let's make sure we're prepared for whatever bears might lie in our future. Now let's dive into the past. Yes, everyone's considering the global pandemic, wearing masks, not wearing masks, getting back to normal. Is it H1N1? Is it AIDS? Is it chickenpox? What's going on today? There will always be crisis du jour. The media will have things to scare us about. On a very slow day, they even talk about the bird flu. Remember that? So we are living in a small world with both danger and opportunity. We will figure out how to capitalize on the opportunity while minimizing the risk and the danger. Part of that is having your estate planning portfolio process built together. So the estate planning process consists of you figuring out who's going to get your, quote, stuff after you're done with it. It's going to involve attorneys, also known as legal eagles. It's going to involve processes and rules and laws based on where you're at. It's going to have things like trust and living wills and healthcare powers of attorney. Some of you have this done already, and it's right and it's current and amazing. Bless you, everyone. Some of you have considered this for some time and have been dragging it behind you like a ball and chain for 3 decades and need to get it off your to-do list and into reality. Wherever you find yourself is fine. Let's spend some time this quarter doing your estate planning process. So, how do charities play into your estate planning? How about POAs, powers of attorney, probate, heirs, wills, trust, assets, guardianship? You've heard all these terms before. How do we get them organized? How do we get your house in order? We find out what you would like to have happen, your vision for your estate plan. We find out what you've done currently, give you credit for that. Hey, green lights, look at that. Ooh, yellow, we might want to update that or tune that up. And if we have red lights, like what do you mean your children that are over 18 don't have their own healthcare power of attorney? We will get your house in order one step at a time. So there's a lot of excellent things that we can do to add value for you to get your house in order. So the word comprehensive when it comes to estate planning 101 is making sure that all the key people or players in your life are covered. So if you're married, you have children, grandchildren, they all need basic documents. If they're under 18, we're going to roll them in under yours. They're called minors. If they're of 18 or older, they're going to need your own, as you can see at the bottom, HCPOA, Healthcare Power of Attorney. Because of HIPAA laws, most of you know that if you try to go in an ambulance or go into a hospital, they will not let you in. Even if you're the child's mother, for example, you will get stopped at the door if you do not have a healthcare power of attorney. This needs to be done in written form in your estate planning portfolio. It also needs to be electronically on a memory stick in your pocket and also on your smartphone. There are things we can do. Let's double check titling. Let's get your estate planning ready to roll. So now let's get into the nuts and bolts, nitty gritty of the estate planning portfolio. Why do most people put this off? Well, it's going to remind them they're mortal and they're not going to live forever. We know about the cycle of life and we can get over that. Or they don't want to spend thousands of dollars to some legal or estate planning attorney. Well, we can go through and find attorneys that match your specific needs and desires. We're going to listen to you, and then we will see if we can't even get wholesale pricing for you. So if you've been putting this off because you think it's going to change your mortality, it will not. However, if you want to put it off because you think it's going to cost too much, we'll see if we can't solve that for you. So if you're over 18 and you've heard of things like revocable living trust, community property agreements, you're not sure if you live in one of those 9 states, durable medical powers of attorney, let's have the discussion step by step and let's get your estate planning portfolio constructed and funded, and you are solid. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a tested or proven checklist of what to do when a loved one dies? We're going to lose loved one in our lives. That, unfortunately, I can pretty much guarantee. However, when that happens, there is a triaged, first things first checklist to go through. What you see before you are the right items from the upper left corner to the lower right corner in order, in proper sequence of what to do. Are there minor kids running around? Let's bring them in so we don't lose anybody else. Was organ transplant appropriate? What was the cause of death? Hopefully a medical professional was there to record it unless you were out with that bear we saw earlier. What was the time of death? Again, medical professional probably captured that for you. Is there funeral arrangements? There is a body that's going to be involved in this process. As you go through this checklist, read these, and we are here to help. We'll be happy to give you a copy of this checklist anytime you desire. We're here for you. Knowing you as well as I do, you wouldn't go on vacation without leaving a note for a neighbor or a family member that was going to water your plants and take care of your favorite pet while you were gone. Well, we never know when we're going to get hit by that, quote, proverbial bus, unquote. So if we leave, we should already have our notes, our letters written out. So I'm going to encourage each and every one of you to probably create 3 letters. The first letter of instruction, or you need to know this in case of my early demise, is I love you. It's been a wonderful life together. And by the way, don't forget to water the plants, feed the dog, and take care of my heirs, or whatever it turns out to be. We have examples that we're more than happy to share with you. We'll walk you through the process. It'll remind you you're immortal. It'll take about an hour, and you'll feel so much better after you get it done. It's unbelievable. So he writes one for her. She writes one for him. And if you're married, long-term relationship, you're probably going to want to write one together after you've done his and hers for the kiddos. 3 different letters of instruction, part of your estate planning process. Most of us have heard 1 or 2 excellent attorney jokes during our life. Well, as you can see from the current slide, an estate lawyer's mom, then the dragon ate the prince, but his trust lived happily ever after, is a nice, good, clean attorney joke. One other one that I picked up from an attorney is normal mere mortals like you and I, when they bury us, it's 6 feet deep. Attorneys, they bury 9 feet deep. Do you know why? Because deep down, they're really good. Haha, good, clean attorney joke. What's more important, the past, the present, or the future? Well, most of us would agree the current, now, being here, being happy, being healthy. But the past is prologue. We need to learn. So what's been going on in this wonderful year of 2021? Let's dive in and see. If you had 6 bullet points to cover the entire year of 2021, what might you list? For my list, it was a global pandemic. We can't leave that off the list. Experienced by every single human, some with vaccines, some with face masks, some getting back to normal, some still locked up. So what's going on in your zip code with the big global pandemic, COVID-19? Another thing that's happened in the past is a stock market dip. You probably remember March of 2020 when we ran out of toilet paper, the market took a dive, and it was a big V. The Fed responded appropriately, lowered interest rates, printed a lot of money, kind of created a sugar rush, and now we're getting into the letter K. The letter K being some of the stocks are doing well, like the top portion of the letter. Some are not doing so hot and have not pivoted successfully or in the bottom half of the K. Or what letter would you pick? The next point would be the drop since the Great Depression. 1929, everybody said it's as bad as the Depression. No, we're not all having bread and soup in a line and trying to get day work. So I would say it's a different experience than those of you that survived and lived through the Great Depression. We also know we have a new president in the White House, Mr. Biden. So what would you put on your 2020 list of what you remember in the past? So are we a united nation? United States of America? Are we a divided nation like some would have you believe? Are we red and blue and purple, or are we hopefully still red, white, and blue? A lot of mixed news. Wonder what's real. I mean, we used to have not enough information, and now we seem to be drowning in information. Some of it real, some of it not so real. We also have trillions in new debt pumped into the economy. There is a candy economic sugar rush in our midst currently. We're going to have to deal with it at some point down the road. Pay the piper, I believe, is how the expression goes. So right now, the media is enjoying using letters to represent the stock market conditions, and they try to summarize a complex subject with a simple letter of the alphabet. We've talked about the V, the dip, and the recovery. We've talked about the A with the bifurcated stocks doing well and stocks doing not so well. Maybe the T is the best letter. I'm not sure which one you selected, because maybe Ben Franklin was right. Always know 3 advantages on the left-hand side of the T and 3 disadvantages on the right-hand side of the T. So again, what's your favorite letter? Wouldn't it be nice through the power of artificial intelligence to be able to see the future? Well, none of us has a crystal ball, but I want you to get 3 trends out of this chart. So the chart in the upper left is oil. You can see it was higher, around $100 a barrel in the upper left. You can see it hovered around 60 around the middle of the chart. And then the light blue color on the right side of that chart shows you oil prices fluctuating from 30 to 60 and all around, fairly stable. We all use gas, we all consume oil, now you know. So for the next 5 years, fairly choppy, sideways, horizontals. If you look at the center chart, we're looking at the Standard & Poor's 500, you notice the trend looks generally positive. If you look carefully at it, you'll notice where we dropped in March of 2020, part of the pandemic. You can also see we are currently expecting a little dip. And then the general trend looks good. So lower left, upper right. And then the far chart is gold. It's always good to have a commodity or a plan B. You can see the trend for gold is forecasted rather positive over the next 5 years. We'll see if it actually comes about, but that's the forecast. I don't know exactly who you trust, but Producers Price Index is people that make things, manufacturers, producers. They actually track their prices. You know that some things like lumber are going through the roof right now. Commodities are running again. China's building a city every month, it seems. So as you look at the trend, you can see the overall trend for the next 5 years. The light blue in the upper right corner is pretty positive with the typical roller coasters you would expect. So when my family and I take frequent hikes and walks, we have a tradition that maybe you do. It's called a 360 view, or stop and smell the roses, or turn around and look and see the fall leaves, or whatever beautiful environment you find yourself in. Pause and soak it up and enjoy it a little bit. Don't just walk continuously with your blinders on. So what is it as you did a 360-degree turn today? What are you focused on? What's on your mind financially? Is it the price of oil as you're trying to get about and move around in the summer with your RV? Is it worrying about the great space race and who's on top? Are you worried about Israel? Are you worried about 10 million unemployed Americans right now, or the trillions we're spending on the pandemic? So what's your 360 view look like? Do it every once in a while. It's good for you. Each and every day, you're in the present moment, but you also think about the future. If someone asked me what are the 3 most important words that will impact your future, it would be focus and execution. Not focus or execution. What are you focused on? Because you'll bring that into your reality. I think you were built by a creator, and I think he's curious what you're creating. You also have to not just think and be positive and have affirmations and focus. You actually have to do the work. And that's why the concept of execution. But if you do the execution without a plan, that's folly. So focus and execution. That'll make a difference. 3 little letters that are big letters. They obviously are an acronym. They stand for long-term care. Right now, hopefully all of us are working, our parents are working, everything's healthy and happy and hunky-dory. However, we have to look down the road. So when you get in your 80s, your 90s, 100 years old plus, we may need some help, daily help. Activities of daily living might need a plan. That's not the time to have this conversation. So now, while you're in your 50s, your 60s, or 70s, let's talk about, are we going to do the traditional approach? Are we going to self-insure? Are we going to use life insurance and a long-term care rider, kind of a hybrid? What is our long-term care plan? These problems will not take care of themselves. As part of your comprehensive estate planning process, we're going to have to deal with health. It's the 800-pound gorilla in the room. There are some very unique and creative solutions, Let's discuss them. While we are all together on this journey of life, we want to do three things really well. Number one, make sure we cover the essentials. We have cash flow and money for all of our ongoing bills and the essentials. Then we want to make sure our lifestyle gives us the quality of life we want so we can travel and do those extra things for the people we love. And then finally, we want to make sure we leave a legacy. So in the last quarter of an hour or so, we've spent some life energy units together. Let's do a quick summary. 1, if you are over 18 and don't have a healthcare power of attorney, you are past due, get one today. If you have kids, grandchildren that are over 18, help them, encourage them, assist them, like you've been doing, to get that HCPOA, healthcare power of attorney. Double check titling on all your assets, whether they're at Wise World or somewhere else. We need to make sure titling is done once and right as part of the estate planning process. Always a good idea to double check your beneficiaries. Get your house in order with a comprehensive estate planning portfolio. If you've got it done, it's probably time to review it. We encourage you every 3 years. Ask for our handout, what to do when a loved one dies. We should be ready. It's like having a fire extinguisher packed and loaded before the fire. And again, don't forget to create your letters of instruction, his, hers, and theirs. You do those, your house will be in better order than before you started. So getting your house in order, your estate planning process, is part of the river of life. Yes, there's legal eagles involved, flying high overhead. We use their expertise. We don't practice law. However, there is a process. Just like a winding river does things, we're all on our winding river of life. So let's enjoy the process. Let's do the work, focus and execute. Enjoyed having you at this town hall. And now your favorite section of the entire presentation, the official compliance disclosure. Glad you made it. The opinions voiced in this material are for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. The economic forecast set forth in this material may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful. This information is not intended to be a substitute for specific, individualized tax or legal advice. We suggest that you discuss your specific situation with a qualified tax or legal advisor. The fast price swings in commodities and currencies will result in significant volatility in investors' holdings. You are under no obligation to use the service of any of the entities referenced and may choose any qualified professional to provide legal or trust services. Their entities and their services are not affiliated with LPL Financial and Wise World Investment Planning. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA, and SIPC.